relationship with Persona 5 is very topsy-turvy to say the least, if you know me. To preface, I like it and think it's a good game for sure. There's much in it that I do like and some things I love in aspects of its narrative approach, characterization, and immersion ability, especially that last one. That's why I say Beneath the Mask is by far the best song in all of Persona 5, and yes, including the Wordle tracks. However, there's a lot in it that also frustrates me, or some things I hate or more egregiously was just disappointed in, that really set my like for the game way back, because I'm extremely confused on the decision and just got so frustrated and disappointed even from base Persona 5 that didn't at all get fixed or adjusted in Royal. Now there are a few things that I could say fit with that description, but for this specific case we have to go way back to the first arc because it pertains to the lovely Shiho Suzui. I've always said this since my first playthrough of the original Persona 5 and I've never gotten over it. Shiho should have been a confidant, straight up. And hear me out, put your keyboard away, because I know people might already be like, but we didn't need it, or we had on, or but she got transferred to another school, or it's an inappropriate romance, or she tried to take her own life. No, don't try to pull any of that. One, On's confidant became something very different to where there's no reason not to have also given Shiho one. They could have been very, very different. And two, different school, so we can have a confidant like Shinya, who is in elementary school, but not Shiho, who would just be at a different high school. We already travel everywhere. And three, bro, grow up. There's nothing wrong with a healthy growing relationship that can happen plenty naturally as you're helping her get better over time, both mentally and physically, and also emotionally, of course. Are you just using her to romance her in the end, or do you care about her and her character and are okay with romancing her in the end as a byproduct because she's just a very strong character? If it's the latter because of a strongly written dynamic and relationship that's healthy, then you're fine. Nah, there's even more silly arguments against the Shiho confidant I've heard, but I'll address these and those more as we go on. People over here saying Sai should have been a confidant and by extension a romance route, which I also agree with, but Shiho getting robbed of being a confidant feels way more dirty to me. The biggest reason why is because of their very first interaction with each other, which for the record then was entirely did away with in that trash anime of theirs, but let me focus. So the first and I think only real interaction you get with Shiho alone in the game is earlier on in the Kamoshida arc when you're heading to meet Ryuji outside the building, but Shiho's kind of standing by the door. She apologizes for standing in the way, and when you mention how she's hurt, she changes the subject to about recognizing you as a new transfer student, and even though it wasn't her business, not to let the rumors to get to you because she's seen and helped with a similar situation before, talking about On, of course, where they get prejudged and talked down about for no reason. She is literally the first non-party member that is genuinely nice to you and doesn't prejudge you. One of the first characters, period, for that matter. Even On prejudged you, not wanting to have anything to do with you, saying Rin was a liar, to stay away, and all that stuff. Shiho was such a kind and caring person where even at the absolute peak of gossip about Rin, she tried to help him even though she was suffering so much already. Didn't divulge anything of how bad her situation really was. So it became such a short yet potent interaction in both directions. This to me feels like more than good enough to be a confident unlocker. More than good enough. Now we know not long after this she ends up jumping off the roof and had to stay in the hospital and do rehab and all that stuff. But to me that sounds like grounds for a strong confidant experience. Visit her in the hospital. Even being someone that you and her only had a brief interaction, it was something very strong and meant a lot in my opinion to Rin's character, or at least it should have. They should have capitalized on that more. It meant something because Rin and Shiho both expressed concern for their conditions without knowing a thing about the other, them both suffering very, very much. She could be surprised at the visit, you two talk, and the confidant unlocks, and it could go from there. Even have On take you there to visit too. There's already a grounds for a specific relationship between Rin and Shiho one-on-one. You visit her more where the topic shifts in focus from her body condition, her mental health, revealing to her how the Phantom Thieves took down Kamoshida, helping her in rehab, and not even focusing on any of that, but just talking about yourself to distract her from herself, talking about things they genuinely like and enjoy so she doesn't always have to think about what has happened. Take her mind off it so she can get even better mentally. I mean, look at Akinari from Persona 3, who is in my opinion the best social link in Persona period. If you know, you know, and I think this could have been one to the same incredible level as that. They had the grounds for it and they just didn't do anything with it, man. Also subscribe if you want to see more like rant things like this, because I can do it. The worst part is even without a confidant for Shiho, we didn't even go with On to visit her even once. She was On's friend, yes, but that doesn't mean she only had to be On's friend. We clearly had a strong interaction with her with much significance. And if you couldn't stop her attempt on her life, you could go and see her and she'd find out two people she tried to help came out on top. And I'm gonna be real, sometimes I get the feeling that the game was at its strongest when it was just Rin, On, and Ryuji. And of course, Morgana. But I was mainly talking about as far as humans go in these early phases of the game. It felt like the cohesion was at an all-time high and they could taste gracefully add on another character down the line. But if it's stuck with these three, I really do believe the writing for them would have been impeccable. This is going to be a really niche reference, but they could have just pulled a Power Rangers Dino Thunder, for where a majority of the time, like, the main cast was just 3 Power Rangers, the red, blue, and yellow, instead of a full team of like 5 or 6. Down the line more come in, but they're able to spend more time with just these few characters and really build them up strongly. If anything, I'd say keep those 3 and then only add in Futaba, and I would have been fine with it. What I'm saying is, it feels like a lack of a Shiho confidant was also in part due to the game's weird habit of narrowing the focus to iffy wants rather than seamless positive that can be wonderfully expanded on. It feels like it lost itself trying to add so much so often. Not that the others don't have their own merits, like Yusuke still has a potent arc introduction, and I'm a big fan of Haru's headspace and her characterization, even if the game tries to rob her so much. Don't ask me about Makoto, because y'all, people that know me know I can't stand Makoto Nijima. I hate her guts, but that's another story. Anyways, the fact that we really only get to see Shiho again when she wants closure, looking down on the rooftop again, it feels like so weak because it's a huge missed opportunity. To clarify, Ann's confidant was more tied into her finding herself despite the rumors and the nastiness in both school and then in modeling life, competing with another person. But sadly, it kind of weakened that arc more in my opinion. But my point is, that separation into the modeling aspects of her life, her distance from her parents and feelings there, perfectly allows for you to take time to go and fully forge a bond with Shiho. Her confidant becoming something different, but also not at all allowing a confidant with Shiho makes it seem like a missed opportunity when they gave another big opening by changing on social link mostly down the line to being less about Shiho until the very end. And like I said, because of that first meeting with Ren and Shiho, it isn't like there's no basis for one. I mean, after all, Ren is his own person, and we see with other confidants and in Royal, like with Sumire, he and the devs aren't against him having friends and relationships that are apart from the Phantom Thieves. It almost feels like the game wants you to think, oh, if Ann's not there, then it isn't okay because that's her best friend, not yours, like Ren isn't his own person. It's just like, well, why give us that great interaction? Even though the anime kind of didn't do it as good of justice, it still had its own moments where Ren bumps into Shiho and she drops some papers and he helps her pick them up and he jets off. And as she thanks him, she still watches him as he leaves. They don't have that deeper conversation, but still, they tried barely. Then when her and Anna are talking alone, she brings him up and the rumors about him getting worse and how she hopes he's okay. Basically, don't give me all this foundation laying and then do nothing with it because it just confuses me, and it's so frustrating how we could have gotten such a good confidant relationship whether you romance her or not, which like I said before, it would still be perfectly fine to romance her if you like. She's still a normal person who deserves to have a normal life. Now if you seriously think that wanting to romance her is limited to wanting to help her just so you can date her, then you're ridiculous. Don't think like a Twitter bot, think like an actual person. Critically think. You know how many beautiful and healthy relationships there are where one of them is helping the other out of a dark place or nursing them back to health? Unless the intentions are rotten or there's forcing, then there's no issue whatsoever and you shouldn't feel weird about it. Being said, if you don't want to romance her simply because you would prefer to romance somebody else, then that's also fine. They have all the material to write her just being a great character in general. It can still be impeccable both ways. And you know what? I just had the thought. She really feels like the Sumire they gave up on and said, nah, next time. Like it's Rhodey in Iron Man 1. Do you know how sweet it would be when Shiho finally puts together that you're part of the Phantom Thieves, the people who stopped the person that pushed her to the brink? Speaking of which, I guarantee you that she not only would have had a positive outlook on the Phantom Thieves from the beginning, but during the arc where public opinion of them was dropping due to Okumura's death and Shido's plotting, imagine a scene where you and her talk and she once again consoles you about not letting rumors and negativity and bad talk get to you and get you down. That would be an incredible moment and callback, because now it wouldn't be about Ren himself and being framed, but it would be about as a Phantom Thief. That would be an incredible ode to the beginning one. They could have made that an extra scene in the main story even, or if you just completed her confidant or spaced out the length of her confidant so that the rank unlocks after the Okumura section like some parts of other confidants have. Oh, there's just so many missed gems and just this one topic, man, it hurts. Especially given the strength of the first act of the game, there's no reason for them to have just given that up for really nothing. So it's like, why? But regardless, I think that's all I gotta say. Subscribe for more various Persona content and let me know what you all think of this topic. If you felt the same way, maybe I've given you some more points to think about, and also sorry for that because now you might be even just as annoyed as I am. Or if you're still iffy on it, then feel free to say that too. Put hashtag Suzui on your comment as a secret code if you stayed this long in the video so I know the true goats, and I really appreciate you guys and everyone. Thank you for checking out the video and catch you in the next one.